Hello and welcome back to Cascadia Inswinger. I'm your host, John Floresca, here with my co-host, Eddie Smith. And today we're talking about the third and most likely final Cascadia matchup between Seattle and Portland. It is the rubber match as both teams have won one game already. We're going to give you our thoughts and our predictions in just a moment. We have two games to review before that. Both Seattle and Portland are coming off of big wins over the weekend. Seattle's was actually Friday, but they're coming off big wins. Seattle played on Friday. They beat LAFC 3-0, which is a thorough thrashing of for that team. Eddie, what did you think of this game?
Oh, before I get to that, I just want to note Seattle is going to face Portland again on October 24th. We will talk about that in another show for our Cascadian News show, but there is going to be a fourth match between the two.
Good catch there, Eddie.
But talking about this Seattle LA match, it was looking decent for the first little bit. In fact, I was maybe even thinking that it was going a little bit more for LAFC, and then all of a sudden it started going downhill quick for them, as LA ended up giving up a PK in the 29th minute and a PK in the 33rd, both converted by Nicolas Ladero, making him the record, or giving him the record-breaking 14 for 14 on PKs.
Yeah, absolutely perfect from the spot in MLS, 14 for 14. So congratulations to him. I'm going to knock on wood now, though, just because anytime you start talking about records like that is when he ends up missing one in a big game. So let's knock on some wood for Nico Ladero. The two PKs came within a 4-minute span, and this game all suddenly went into halftime 2-0 when LAFC were actually looking to possibly be in the lead or even leading going into half. So LAFC enters half down. They make two adjustments at halftime. They bring in Edward Atuesta. I enjoy seeing him on the field. He makes this LAFC machine run. So you're thinking, okay, they're bringing in their big midfielder. He's going to help this team. They're gonna find one and make this game more interesting. That doesn't happen. Another 30 some odd minutes go by, and Rui Diaz shows his prowess yet again, finishing a ball passed by Joao Paulo in the 82nd minute, and Seattle ends up walking away with this one 3-0. This is starting to become a trend. Seattle seems to have LAFC's number. Schmetzer was quoted after the game saying that they've figured out a way to play against Bob Bradley and LAFC. Eddie, what do you make of that comment?
I think it's a true comment. I think Seattle is starting to pick up on um, how LAFC likes to play, which is not a good sign for LAFC. They're going to need to figure themselves out if they want to be able to still compete against Seattle in matches coming up in the future. I know they have one more that is coming up, and again, that's going to be in our Cascadia News show that we'll be talking about. But yeah, I would not feel terribly comfortable if I was LAFC, and I would think I would need to start ramping it up and figure it out.
It's fun to see Brian Schmetzer fan the Flames on this rivalry even more. You know, his better than Bob comments from last year, feeling better than Bob. Now he's come out and basically said to Bob Bradley's face, like, I've got you. I've got your number, bro. And I, Bob's not going to take that very well, and it'll be really interesting to see how he responds going into their next game against each other. But as for now, Seattle is very happy walking away with those 3 points. After Friday Night Football, we headed into Saturday, where Portland went back down to San Jose for the second time in 4 days. But this game was very different than their last one. They basically turned to Seattle and said, hey, Seattle, anything you can do, we can do also. Seattle beat San Jose 7-1 a couple weeks ago. Portland thrashed them 6-1. I think this one is actually more impressive than the Seattle win because this one actually happened down in San Jose. Eddie, what are your takeaways from this one?
I'm kind of curious on if Portland. Do you think Portland was allowed to stay down in San Jose? I know we talked about the rules of teams going to others going to the away cities, but with them having two back-to-back games that close together, do you think that they stayed in San Jose or
I don't know. That would be something to research. I doubt it. I bet you they went home. It still
it
saves money for them to go home.
it is pretty close as far as the travel goes because we know that our Cascadia clubs, the supporters do travel down to San Jose as it is close, and they do come up to Cascadia as well. This one was interesting with just how dominant Portland was. It was pretty close in the first half. The scoreline was only 2-1 in the first half, and then just opened up with 4 goals in the second. Just I would really love to be a fly on the wall at halftime to see what Severise said to the players to make them just come out and go on all four or all cylinders to get those 4 goals out there.
Yeah, they came out in the second half, guns blazing. It was only 2-1 at halftime. It was a very respectable game, and it was actually San Jose that had the momentum. They scored in the 44th minute, just before half. So you come out of the halftime locker room as San Jose saying, "We got a shot at this game. We were down 2-0, but we're in this." But Diego Valeri, Diego Chara, nothing may have been said in that locker room. Those two are such good veterans that they might have just took it upon themselves. Chara ended up with 2 assists in the second half. Valeri had a goal and an assist, and Portland showing their veteran skill, just taking care of business on the road. It's good to see Portland getting back into this big wins domination. They've needed it after the 4-2 loss against LAFC earlier, and then they ended up beating San Jose in the Wednesday. Did they win that game in the Wednesday game? I can't remember. It
I
feels
think.
like it's been so long ago. But I mean, they've needed a big win. They've needed to get going for this game against Seattle. So
I want to note a couple things. One, I wanted to mention. Uh, I thought it was awesome about how San Jose is doing this whole COVID thing with their supporters. They had their supporters outside the stadium, kind of doing like a drive-in movie theater setup, having them all stay in their cars, being able to watch the match on a big screen outside the stadium. When Valeri was going up for his PK in the 25th minute, you could hear the car horns going off in the background, which was actually in his face, which I thought was awesome. I just as a if you for a neutral fan perspective, I thought that was awesome. Even as a Portland fan, I thought that was awesome. Another thing I wanted to note is how interesting of a 180 do you think this is about how San Jose is taken this season? They did so well in the MIB tournament, and then all of a sudden they're in dead last.
well, ownership has come out and they have said that the two big losses to Seattle and Portland are absolutely unacceptable. It's not how you want to play as a franchise. It's not what you want to show your fans. It's not the product on the field that you want to put out there. That being said, they do have a very respected coach, Matias Almeida, who coached in Liga MX for several years, and he's a coach who's well known for playing his style no matter what. It doesn't matter if he's playing against the top team in the league or the bottom. He's going to play the exact same way no matter what. But the problem that doesn't work with this is if you don't have the talent on the field, there's going to be games where you're outclassed and you're going to have to change the way you play. But he's basically saying, I'm not going to change. So if you are upset with the product, you need to bring talent in. Whether that happens this transfer window or not, I really doubt that it's going to happen now. I think they're going to wait till the offseason. Chris Wondolowski's looking to retire. If he does so, that frees up a lot of space for them and allows them to make some wholesale changes. Whether he actually retires or not is a different story.
Yeah. So are we ready to move on to our team's next matches?
I'm excited to talk Seattle Portland. It's a bummer that this game is happening midweek. It's a bummer that it's not nationally televised yet again. I don't know what MLS is thinking, not making these Cascadia matchups nationally televised. It's a disgrace to the rivalry, but I'm not going to let it bring me down. I'm going to watch some Seattle Portland tomorrow.
I will say this as well. I would uh, bringing in Vancouver into this mix as well. I've always been upset that Vancouver doesn't get the respect that I feel like they deserve to get in on this rivalry. It is a three-way rivalry between Vancouver, Portland, Seattle, and I would love to see the respect for all three clubs get in on the national spotlight.
Well, we do get some Seattle, Vancouver, Portland, Vancouver matchups as the rest of the schedule has been announced. So we finally get Vancouver Cascadia matchups again. I'm excited about that. We don't have that yet. We got Seattle, we got Portland. The road team has won the last 6, 7. I've lost count how many times the road team has won this in a row. All that you need to know is that the road teams are on a hot streak. This game is in Portland. Who's going to win this one, Eddie?
Well, if you look at stats, it would lean towards Portland. For the series matchup in Portland, the Timbers are for the MLS era. I will say that Portland is leading 6 wins to 4 with 3 draws. Do you think that plays any part in this, or is it just as always with what we know with Seattle Portland, just it's up in the air type thing?
You would say yes, it would, but without any fans, I honestly think this game comes down to more of how the players actually play. I don't think that fans in the stands are going to, or no fans in the stands is meaning that the home field advantage is almost nullified in a game like this one, especially with how close in proximity the teams are. The travel's not hard at all. But it's really going to come down to which players are on the field for this game. I know that I kept saying that Portland was going to rest some players because they've played a lot of games. They're playing every 4 or 5 days. Seattle's gotten a week rest here and there, but Portland's been playing every 4 or 5 days. They didn't rest either Diego's on Saturday. So it'll be interesting. Seattle has been playing a lot of games too. They've got a lot of games ahead of them. I don't think either team rests players against this one, but it also makes you wonder if fatigue plays a factor at all.
Yeah, when it comes to a rivalry match, you're definitely not going to see players resting for that. It's definitely going to be your A squads, A plus squads, if you can get that. It's going to be interesting. I think that the addition of Brad Smith for Seattle is going to be a very big deal in shoring up Seattle's defense. I feel a lot more comfortable with Seattle's defense now going forward, now that he's back on the club. Still a little iffy about the central defense there. So I think if there's a weak spot for Portland to be able to get in and score goals, it's going to be just running it right up Seattle's throat. But it's going to just be a classic Seattle-Portland matchup. I'm actually expecting this one to get a little chippy, knowing that they have 2 matches already under their belt against each other.
Yeah, it could get a little chippy. I'm interested also to see what lineup changes are made in terms of actual players on the field, because you know that Portland just started a new goalkeeper, Ivacic, in their game against San Jose, saying they want him to be more part of the club. But do you play a younger goalkeeper in a matchup like this, or are you going to go back to Clark, which Steve Clark hasn't been playing terrible this season? It is possible that that could happen. I don't know which way Savarese is going to go. And then on the other side of the ball, Gustav Svensson could be coming back. I know that he had a 14-day quarantine period after he came back from playing in Europe. I don't know if that's up yet or if he's going to be able to play or not, but that's another question mark heading into tomorrow.
It's going to be something that we're going to have to pay attention to as it gets closer to match time. I don't really know what more to say about this.
What's your prediction? Give us
I'm
a
just
prediction
excited.
tomorrow. Let's go. Wednesday. I got this one actually being a really chippy affair. I'm going to say 2-2. I've got a red card in this one for a Sounders player.
Ooh.
I'm going to say red card for Christian Roldan, 2-2. I'm going big on this one.
Man, You actually took my prediction. I was going to say 2-2 as
Well,
well.
you can say the same one. There's no rule. I don't own that prediction.
Well, I'm thinking the same thing. I think it's going to be 2-2. As far as a red card, I don't think that I can see red cards happening, but I do see some players getting some yellows and being very close to that edge of getting a red card. But I think it's going to be finishing at 11v11.
All right. Well, that's it for your Cascadia preview. Let us know your thoughts and predictions, and let us know if we're crazy. Let us know, go Portland, go Seattle, and let us know what you think of the show at the end. Let us know what you, if you think that the game was deserved for either team. And stay tuned for the rest of the MLS schedule. Until next time, go Cascadia.